You know how we're always looking for the stuff that really uh, cuts through and gives you new perspective?
Mm-hmm.
Well, today, let's forget the usual hype around crypto for a minute.
Okay.
We're diving into something, well, genuinely surprising. Its critical role in war zones. We've been looking at some fascinating material on this.
Right.
And our mission, really, is to understand how these digital currencies are actually being used in the most intense real-world situations. Way beyond just investment trends.
Exactly, because when you look past all the speculation, you find this technology being adopted out of sheer necessity.
Right.
So the core question we're exploring is, how are cryptocurrencies becoming like essential tools for survival and
Well,
for these hidden economies that spring up in conflict areas?
and the first example from our source is just,
Yeah.
it's stunning, really. Think about Ukraine, 2022.
Yeah.
War breaks out. And alongside the traditional aid channels, the government actually publicly shared their Bitcoin and Ethereum wallet addresses.
Just put them out there.
Yeah, and millions of dollars flowed in, almost instantly,
Right.
directly to where it was needed.
Mhm.
No red tape, no banking delays slowing things down.
And that speed, that directness in a crisis like that, it's remarkable.
It really is.
What's fascinating there is the complete bypass of the traditional financial systems, which, let's face it, can be incredibly slow and inefficient,
Right.
especially during a conflict.
Totally, when banks might be closed or inaccessible.
Exactly. So these digital channels just provide an immediate alternative for aid. It really shows how quickly individuals and even governments can adapt when the old systems falter.
It kind of hints at a potential future, doesn't it? Where maybe decentralized finance plays a much bigger role in crisis response.
It certainly suggests that possibility.
And it's not just governments, right? Our source talks about everyday people, how they're using stablecoins like Tether.
Right, Tether, which aims to be pegged to the US dollar. So theoretically, one Tether equals $1 in reserve. Keeps the value stable, ideally.
So like a digital dollar people can use easily.
Pretty much. And people are using these to buy absolute essentials.
Yeah.
Groceries, fuel, especially when their own local currency is, collapsing.
Makes sense.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, what you're seeing is individuals trying to take back some financial control when everything else is failing.
Okay.
These digital wallets, they become a way to protect whatever limited wealth they have, and crucially, to move it safely if they become displaced.
Ah, right, for refugees.
Exactly. They can cross borders without the massive risk of carrying physical cash through checkpoints.
Which can be incredibly dangerous. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the source also takes us into a less visible area.
Hmm.
The use of privacy coins, like Monero.
Monero.
In black markets within these conflict zones, places where, basic goods are really scarce or tightly controlled.
Right. And the key difference here, Bitcoin, Ethereum, their transactions are on a public ledger. Pseudonymous, but public.
You can trace the flow.
Yeah. But privacy coins, like Monero, they're designed for a much, much higher degree of anonymity. Makes transactions really hard, almost impossible to trace back.
So truly untraceable then. People are using these to get essentials outside the official broken systems.
That's what the source indicates. And it does raise this important question about, well, what happens to the very idea of currency when established systems just break down?
Yeah.
In these really desperate situations, people will find any means necessary just to provide for themselves and their families. So you see this tool being used, well, out of necessity.
It's tricky, isn't it? Ethically, but framed in survival.
That's a complex reality.
And get this, here's a really surprising development mentioned. Militias and resistance groups. They're using Bitcoin to fund their operations. We're talking buying supplies, maybe weapons, even intelligence.
All through smartphones and access to blockchain?
Exactly. The blockchain being that transparent, unchangeable digital ledger, which makes these kinds of transactions very difficult for authorities to just shut down. So currency, in this context, it becomes a direct form of power. It's decentralized. It's immediate.
So it's not just about the money itself. It's fundamentally changing the power dynamics on the ground, potentially bypassing traditional state control in ways we haven't really seen before.
That's a huge shift.
What's crucial to understand is how these groups can operate differently now. They're not solely reliant on, say, traditional state sponsors or cumbersome funding routes.
Right.
This kind of decentralized funding gives them a new level of autonomy and, well, obviously presents massive challenges for traditional security and intelligence structures.
You bet.
But the source is also really clear that this anonymity, this decentralization, It's a double-edged sword.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the flip side, isn't it? The source makes it absolutely clear. These same tools, the ones that can be a lifeline for vulnerable people, can be and are exploited by criminal elements,
Yeah.
cartels, terrorist groups,
Yeah.
using it to hide and move illicit funds.
It's a technology with this inherent duality. And governments, frankly, are still scrambling to understand it, let alone regulate it effectively.
Yeah, it feels like they're always playing catch-up.
It highlights that tension you always get with powerful new tech, the very features that make crypto so valuable in these chaotic places. The decentralization, the speed, the relative anonymity are the same things that can be misused.
So regulation is just incredibly complex.
And constantly trying to adapt to new developments. It's a moving target.
So, okay, thinking about everything we've pulled from this source material, consider this question. What actually happens when traditional financial systems just collapse? And that ability, for instance, permissionless fund transfer becomes absolutely essential just for basic survival.
Right.
Cryptocurrency, seen through that lens, it stops looking like just speculation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It looks more like a potential lifeline in the most extreme circumstances imaginable.
Precisely. And when you factor in these power dynamics we've talked about and the profound ethical questions that come up when crypto gets so deeply tangled with conflict,
Yeah.
it really forces you to wonder, how might this shape the future of aid, maybe governance itself, even individual sovereignty,
Yeah.
especially in what seems like an increasingly unstable world?
It's definitely something to chew on, way beyond the usual headlines.